All right, welcome back. That's Some Cheese, part of the Vendetta Sports Podcast Network. Today is, what is today? Playoff basketball,
Saturday.
that's all I know. April 15th, 2023, and our Australian correspondent, Jarrod Prosser, is here. So, Jarrod, what's going on? Are you ready to do this?
Oh, of course. You know, we've had the playing some tight play-in games, if not necessarily exciting ones, except for maybe one of them, which I don't know whether we're going to cover the playing, but I thought the Pelicans Thunder game was an exciting one. All the other ones, yeah, there was some proper 90s basketball in there, but
If
at least there was some tight games.
The Timberwolves would have scored like one basket against the Lakers in the last 5 minutes, that would have helped.
Oh, that game was actually pretty entertaining until about 7 or 8 minutes to go, and then it just turned into this like turgid sludge fest. It was horrible, but it was still more fun to watch than either of Miami's games.
Yes, very much so. Speaking of Miami, let's just start there. Why don't we just start there?
Yeah, let's get the big one out of the way.
Yeah, do the Heat have a prayer against Milwaukee? They beat them before in the playoffs.
Yeah, very different Miami side though. And to be honest, it was a different Milwaukee side. This was a pre-championship Bucks.
We thought Bud might have gotten fired after that.
He came very close. If they didn't win that championship, I dare say Bud's out the door. But now he's got a ring. He's a made man. Look, there's only two things that can realistically swing this even slightly in Miami's favor, and that is that Chris Middleton, outside of the freak things like someone going down with a rolled ankle, but if Chris Middleton if he's not his usual self, that can slow Milwaukee's offense down. And the other thing is Bam simply cannot be as bad on offense as he has been in these playing games.
I wanted to talk about him.
1 of 9 today against, noted defensive stopper Nikola Vucevic.
Yeah.
Far out. I reckon I could go 1 of 9 against Vuce. I'm 6 foot tall and in my mid-40s.
The rest of Miami's offense isn't good enough for him to go 1 of 9.
No, it's not. And this was a game where, the Struce Goose got loose.
Yeah.
But it's, that's beating Chicago. To do that against Milwaukee even once, to pick one game against Milwaukee, they're going to need Bam to be all-star Bam again. Defensively, he was fine. He always is. But, man, offensively, he just sucked in both of these playing games.
Yeah. How about Milwaukee? Why would you even want to play Middleton? I think I'd hold him out for the first round.
It's a tough one. I mean, you don't want to give a sucker an even break. And, Jimmy Butler always finds a new level when it comes to playoff basketball. Yeah. You just need 1 or 2 of these shooters to go off. It might not be Strus. It might be Vincent. We might see the reanimation of the corpse of Duncan Robinson. But, if someone goes off for 8 threes, then and Miami have plenty of guys who can go off for 7 or 8 threes. They might only do it once a month, but they've got the guys who can do it. You don't necessarily want to give a sucker an even break. And as much as this Miami side isn't what it was even a year ago, there is still that hashtag heat culture thing there that teams are scared of. This is one where I reckon they'll probably play Chris Middleton, but hope to get out of this in 4, at worst 5 games, and then give him a rest.
I just don't even know how to break Miami down other than the fact that they're just boring to me. Their
Great
offense
defense, terrible offense.
Yeah, their offense feels broken half the time.
Well, when I did an episode of The Point a little while ago on the prevalence of high-scoring individual games, and part of that was examining the high scoring of teams in general. And the one offense, I didn't even realize until I was researching that how bad Miami's offense was. It's 30th in the league, and at the time, and I might have my figures wrong here, and they, of course, have probably changed since, what was that, late February when I did that episode. But the difference between 30th and 29th, Miami and whoever it was the same as 29th to 21st. They just cast adrift from the rest of the league as an offense. They're horrible. Horrible to watch.
It's basically Jimmy Butler hero ball. Bam needs to be hot. and hopefully you're looking for a Tyler Hero spark. Other than that, I don't know what they bring to the table.
No, they don't. There's so much streakiness, and it really does resemble a lot of 1990s ball as well. This is where Tyler Hero is actually, as much as he annoys me to watch him play offense, where it is, like it's nominative determinism at his best, Hero playing hero ball. But it is, like it really is. Sorry?
It's almost necessary for this team.
Well, that's the thing. He has to. He's the stylistic outlier for that team. The rest of the team, outside of these one-dimensional shooters, is just like so stuck in 1996. And, that's entertaining tight ball if there's another 1996 team and it's a tight game. But when you're playing against teams that look like it's honestly, it's like two different sports.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Let me hear a prediction. I'm going to go Milwaukee in 5. We'll give a respect card to Miami.
I honestly think it'll be Milwaukee in a sweep. Unless something goes really, really wrong for the Bucks, I can't see the Heat winning a game. They might get lucky. Like I'm saying a sweep. Mostly, if you'd said a sweep, I probably would have said 5. But I struggle to see Miami pulling anything.
I know this team went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, but based on the way they've played this year, I just don't know how anybody can really look at this Heat team and be like, "Oh, they're serious. They might give them a run." I just don't see it.
Look, they can flip a switch, but honestly, I think this version of the Heat flipping a switch takes them from playing team to maybe a 6th seed, a 5th seed. They're just not as good as they were.
And they didn't get better this offseason.
No, not at all. Not at all. They're still relying on that ability to mine diamonds in the rough. And, the law of averages says that's going to stop eventually. And I think we're starting to see that now.
Yeah. Let's move to the Celtics. I actually am very happy with this matchup. I would have preferred the Hawks instead of the Heat, just in case, we don't know what this Celtics team does every night. I mean, they just go into the tank sometimes. And I feel like maybe the mental warrior Heat would have bothered them a little bit more than this Hawks team. But I don't know. I think Trae Young does not fit against the defense like this. Like, he's going to struggle.
Yeah. There would have been some scar tissue there from last season with the Heat being a shot away from knocking him off. But look, you mentioned that the Celtics, you don't know what they're going to do every night. Their offense is so jump shot reliant that there is going to be like wild variations in what they give you from one game to the next. That's the nature of a jump shooting team. This is where someone like Brogdon is so important for the Celtics because, he's an excellent jump shooter, but his primary goal on offense is to burrow his shoulder into your chest and push you into the hoop. So
he's done a lot better shooting wise this year. You have to give him that.
He's always been a really good shooter, to be honest. It's just that in his other teams, he was just a shooter rather than a driver. That's probably unfair on his time in Indiana, but this season he stands out because he is so different to the rest of these guys. It's
and
either
a lot more
one-on-one
open looks. I mean, if you're playing for Indiana compared to, hey, there's Brown, there's Tatum. I mean, a lot less attention there too.
Well, he was carrying the ball in Indiana, whereas here he can play off the ball. So we see that spot up shooting a lot more. We saw it in Milwaukee, to be honest. His spot up shooting's always been really good. But you're right. Defensively, this is the side that really we saw what Miami did to Trae Young last season. This time around, not only do you have the reigning defensive player of the year as a point guard, and yes, he's dropped away a lot, but he's been replaced in the, I suppose, defensive pecking order by Derek White, who, if I had a ballot, and give me a ballot, you NBA cowards, I would have him first team all defense. I think White's been unbelievable on D.
Based on the block numbers he's had at the guard position?
It's not even just the blocks. Like, if you watch him, just the way he stays chest to chest, like he annoys the shit out of other point guards. He seems to have picked up some of Smart's physicalness.
I don't know what his numbers.
I'm not even sure that's a word, but physicality, that's the word.
His plus minus this year was outrageous.
Yeah. And this is a guy who doesn't create his plus minus. And look, there's always a lot of noise in plus minus, but White's plus minus doesn't come from his offensive contributions.
No,
it comes from him playing D. So, like, you start with Marcus Smart guarding you, and when he goes to the bench, you get Derek White guarding you, or you might get Brogdon, who's not super quick, but he's big and strong and physical and knows his angles. They might decide to play a bigger player on you and decide to throw, Brown on you for 3 or 4 possessions. Like, oh, Jesus, when does this end?
Yeah.
So in that sense, so much depends on DeJounte Murray. So much depend. This is a big, big series for John Collins. This is the sort of series where he could actually find a little bit. And I really do expect Quinn Snyder to go against what he did in Utah, where fair enough, he had to rely on Gobert, so he had to play with a genuine center most of the time. Even though Capella and Okongwu are on the Hawks roster, I'm looking to see whether Quinn Snyder goes quote unquote centerless and plays a stretch 4 and John Collins at the 5 and see whether he can stretch Rob Williams out a little bit. Particularly if like Grant Williams is on the floor or someone like that, someone who's not necessarily a big offensive threat.
I've been really impressed with Okongwu. I feel like if the Hawks are actually going to take a step forward, they need to cash in the Collins piece or a Capella or one of those guys and give him
It'll be Capella. Yeah. I mean, they've been trying to trade John Collins since Moses was a boy, and it's just not going to happen. So, and he's dropped off John Collins, realistically. If anyone's going to get traded, it's Capella. And he's pushing 30, so it's right to the point where a center that relies on his athleticism might start to drop off. And you're absolutely right, Trey. Atlanta need to see what they've got in Okongwu. But talking about this series, I'm talking about John Collins playing center. There are times when the Celtics play Rob Williams and Horford together.
Yeah.
Given Okongwu is only about 6'7", 6'8", there might be times where we see Capella and Okongwu on the floor together, which could be horrific for spacing. It might be a case if you have to play Bogdanovich, Murray, and Young together and play 3 guards and 2 centers, which I don't know what that does to the defense on Brown and Tatum realistically, but we might see some really funky lineups from Atlanta here in an effort to just try and throw Boston and a rookie head coach just off their cadence a bit and just see whether they can steal a game.
Yeah, based on the things that we've gotten from the Hawks this year and the matchup that we have in terms of defensive pieces that they can throw at Trae Young, I just don't see how they're going to put up much of a fight.
No, nor do I. I have precisely zero faith in any team led by Trae Young. He just does not strike me as a leader of men.
He beat Miami.
Yeah.
Not saying much.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was Miami playing badly, and that's what it took to beat them.
Saddiq Bey has helped them.
Yes. It gives them some shooting from the wing, which they desperately need because Hunter
they lost it with Herbert.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hunter hasn't progressed as just an offensive threat in general, let alone a shooter. Bey, he's only a second-year player, but he's not great defensively. His decision-making is like erratic, doesn't even begin to describe it. So, if everything clicks for Atlanta, they can win a game or 2 here. But again, I don't see it with the Hawks. I really don't. I honestly think this will be a sweep, and it will lead to some major, major, major changes in Atlanta this offseason.
Yeah, I think a sweep's coming, and a big trade wouldn't surprise me.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, we've seen it's all over the internet that Young for Gobert plus a little piece or 2 here and there works. So yeah, that could be the ultimate, like the most challenge trade ever concocted.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to be a part of it.
All right, let's move.
we do have Gobert's old coach in Atlanta now. So
I know. I tried to put a trade machine in for Capella, John Collins, and some picks for Gobert.
Yeah, I don't think that would work. Just on a basketball sense, I think you need to get a better lead guard, or someone who can at least
Minnesota wise, yeah. But I don't know. I don't know if the Hawks want to do that.
Yeah, no. I mean, look, if they're going to trade for another center, you've already got Capella, you've got a Kongwu coming through. Why do it? Why do it? Yeah.
Let's move 76ers and Nets. The Nets didn't necessarily die after they traded Durant. They won some games, and Bridges has taken off. I don't know.
He's dropped away recently, though. He has dropped away recently. Yeah, there was that really good run once he became a primary option. But teams, when you're a primary option, you get scouted a lot more. So teams have now had 6 weeks of seeing what he does with the ball in hand, as opposed to a spot up or a secondary option. And the last 2.5 weeks of the season for him were pretty poor efficiency wise. So I think teams are starting to figure out.
They have added some wing defenders, though, and I think that's helped them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. That said, I don't think those wing defenders are going to do a whole lot against Philly's offense. I talked about the point before. The latest episode came out this morning, my time, and it was all about the Philadelphia 76ers offense and how it's, become the best in the league. And it's all based around a big point guard and an even bigger giant human being of a center. So all these wing defenders are great, but none of them are going to be able to hold up Embiid and Harden in the pick and roll.
How about Nick Claxton? He's taken a big step forward defensively.
Yeah, very good defensive player, but he's also built like a twig.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I mentioned in the point is that, if you stop Harden getting to the cup, he throws a pocket pass to Embiid. He loves to get to that free throw line jumper, but if he can't, he goes into his post game where he's 7'2" and built like a brick shit house. He will put Claxton into the basket. But Claxton will stop him getting those jumpers and getting those dribble drives, but he's just not strong enough.
It's kind of similar to, I know they're not necessarily the same exact player, and this guy's a lot bit better, but Mobley, another good defensive player, but Embiid killed him. I mean, he was just too skinny for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant defensive player. Like, again, if I had a ballot, he'd be, I'd argue between second and third for defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just not built big enough. He's just not stout enough through the body, through the hips to be able to hold up Embiid.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It feels very similar to when the Nets had that D'Angelo Russell team and they give the 76ers a fight. Never felt like they were going to win the series, but they were at least a pain in the ass for them.
Yeah, they were. They absolutely were. And remember, this is a 6th seed that isn't a real 6th seed either.
No.
This was a 6th seed that was a 3rd seed and then traded away their best players. So realistically, this is probably a play-in team. And I think we're going to see similar results to what a play-in team would get.
Yeah, I'm going to give the Nets 2 games, 1 game.
Yeah. No, I'm going 1. I'm going 1. There is a massive drop off beyond that top 3 in the East, but this is ultimately this is essentially a 3rd play-in team against a 3rd potential number 1 seed. And I think the result will reflect that. I'm going to
need Joe Harris and Cam Johnson to be hot from the outside to have a shot.
And they're going to need one of those random Seth Curry games and a Patty Mills game. And Day'Ron Sharp is going to have to come in and play the defense of his life for 15 minutes every night. They
don't have anybody beyond Claxton, really. It's just him.
No, they don't. I think there's enough variance in what the Nets do, and to be honest, what the Sixers do, that the Nets can get a game, but picking up a series or at least making this a competitive series, that's a bridge too far.
Yeah. Last Eastern Conference matchup, we're moving a lot faster than I thought we would.
Yeah. A lot faster than we usually do.
Maybe we can add the CBA stuff if we actually go quick.
To be honest, the West is such a shit show that I think we're going to go into a lot more there.
That's true. This one's a really good matchup, though, and I'm not really convinced on either side which team's going to win. Knicks, Cavs. Knicks have been hot in the second half. The Josh Hart edition has really made an impact here. The Cavs started off maybe strong and have fallen off late. Didn't really add anybody at the trade deadline. What are your thoughts here?
Look, it surprised me that the Knicks offense is as good as it is. Not just when you look at the, I suppose, the recent history of the Knicks and the roster of the Knicks, but also the coach of the Knicks.
Jalen Brunson underpaid.
It turns out he might be. You and I spoke about this in the off-season, and we said, good on Brunson for getting his bag. He's probably a bit overpaid. He'll be a really good point guard. None of us expected him to be a borderline all-star.
He might make an all-NBA team.
There is an outside chance. Like if there was a fourth all-NBA team, he's probably on it.
That's why I hate all the hindsight bias when they're like, oh, the Mavs. How could you not pay Brunson? Show me the receipt that said you would have paid him that. That's what I want to know.
Look, the initial offer they gave him was probably a bit lowball.
Yeah.
But, anybody who sat there at that time and said, hey, this is a potential all-NBA guy, was like they're either a soothsayer who can see into the future or they're on mushrooms. There is no logical way that anybody could have predicted this from Jalen Brunson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been remarkable. He has just given this side such a focal point.
Imagine if they had gotten Mitchell in the trade.
Well, to be honest, we're probably not seeing this version of Brunson, though.
Sure.
We've seen what it's like when he plays next to a ball-dominant guard. And he's a really good player, but he's not this version of Jalen Brunson. So, it's a bit of a sliding doors moment. It's not like you're going to get this version of Brunson if you had this makeup of a team. So it's just that this particular roster that the Knicks have has allowed Brunson to flourish.
Hart has been a really good complimentary piece.
Sorry?
Hart has been a really good complimentary piece.
That's his career. That is Josh Hart's career. He's someone who fills in the gaps on a team. Quentin Grimes is essentially the new version of Josh Hart. He's got the perfect person to learn from.
Quickly, man. He's good.
You just took the words out of my mouth. I was about to say the one I'm really impressed with is the improvement in quickly. I got to admit, I had him tabbed as nothing more than a six-man gunner. He's massively outshot the projections I had for him.
I wanted him bad for the Celtics, but the Knicks took him and then they got Pritchard.
Yeah. Which, Pritchard's nice, but he's not Emmanuel Quickly.
No.
He's a much better playmaker than I thought. His defense is unreal. The way he can slide over a screen.
Just a ball of energy, too.
Well, he is. I mean, you have to be to play that role, but his technical ability, his footwork to be able to get around screens, to get over the top of screens and stay with his player, it's speed and it's good footwork, but it's also just effort, wanting to do it. He's and he wasn't projected to be this ace defender coming out of college, so maybe we can give credit to Tibbs on that. But he's become a brilliant two-way guard. He's a really, really good player at both ends of the floor, and I didn't see that coming.
I think I'm actually taking the Knicks. It just feels like the Cavs are a year away. They didn't add anything, and it just feels like they need to cash in that LeVert piece. I don't know how he fits there.
What are you getting for LeVert?
I don't know. I don't know, but it feels like his spot on the roster, they need an upgrade.
They do. They absolutely do. I did a piece on Evan Mobley about a month ago, and that's the one gaping hole. Like whether and they don't necessarily need a defensive ace there as much.
It would be nice if Okoro was that guy, but I don't think he's ever going to leap into anything offensively.
Well, he'll be nothing more than a spot up shooter. I mean, even in the moment, it was a massive reach getting him at pick. Was he pick 5, pick 6?
6, yeah.
Yeah. He's a good defender. He's a really good defender, but as a 3 without much off the bounce game, he needs to be hitting open trays. And right now, he just doesn't do it. Mm-mm. That's not to say he won't. I mean, even going back 20 years, Bruce Bowen was that type of player, a slightly undersized small forward who defended doggedly but couldn't hit a shot.
Jay Crowder.
Yeah, Jay Crowder's another one. The history is littered with examples of one-way defensive players who learned how to shoot. Having said that, there's also Tony Allen, who never did. So, it's not to say that he will learn to shoot, but Okoro could be that guy. But right now, he's not. And
my worst take of all time was when I was a lot younger. It was like, Why are we drafting Marcus Smart? Didn't we just have Tony Allen? He could never shoot.
Yeah, look, I honestly thought Smart would develop into a better shooter than what he has.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect the rest of his game to develop the way it did either.
Tony Allen gave me nightmares when they picked Smart.
I still use Bill Simmons' dad's nickname for him, Trick or Treat Tony. I just thought that's just the perfect nickname for him. Yeah. But on this series, playoff basketball, yeah, the NBA has changed, but playoff basketball is still won in the paint. And
Randall has to be healthy.
Yeah, even so. If he gets through Mobley, he meets Jarrod Allen. And the Knicks just don't have the interior scoring to threaten those two. So New York is going to have to be white hot from the perimeter because they don't have the interior scorers to get around Mobley and Allen.
What's going on with Mitchell Robinson? Why can't we get a leap out of him?
I think this is just what he is. Hyper athletic. He's gotten better. He's learned not to foul. Well, not to foul as much. But
okay, Jaren Jackson.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He really was Jaren Jackson without the hype, But look, I honestly just think this is what Mitch Bob is. He's just
disappointing.
He's just a good defensive player, rim running center, but has absolutely no skills, no finesse to speak of.
I'm waiting for the DeAndre Jordan crash next.
It could really come because he's so reliant on his bounce, So if he falls away quickly, we could be looking at Jordan where he's done by as an effective player at 30-31.
So
but look, I think the Knicks are good enough to take a couple of games. It might even go to 7, but I'm going to go Cavaliers.
I'm going Knicks in 7.
Big call. Big call.
Yeah. All right, we're going to do the Western Conference now. Make sure to follow Jarrod on Twitter. That is hey_it's_JP. Myself, Trey Daubert. All these episodes are going to be found on the YouTube channel, and they're going to be individually broken down into the post as well for the previews. So, Denver, Minnesota. My favorite stat on the Timberwolves is they have a 0.00 point differential on the season.
The definition of mediocrity.
That is your Timberwolves team going up against the Nuggets. So take of that as you will.
Like when the Gobert trade happened, a lot of people said, "Oh, what does this do? Does this take Minnesota from like 8th to 6th?" And it turns out that that's when you throw in that Towns missed 60 games. You could probably say that that's pretty much what happened. All the stuff that people said in jest kind of happened. Yeah, Minnesota have improved, and we haven't gotten to see anything like what Minnesota could do, considering Towns missed the preseason as well with COVID and injuries, and Gobert missed a part of it with Eurobasket. But this is actually a little bit more of an intriguing series than I think people are giving it credit for.
Oh,
yeah. Well, part of it, and look, if the Nuggets can flip the switch, then it's over. It's going to be 4-1. But you look at Denver's last 4 weeks of basketball, it has been pretty uninspired.
Is that basically the timetable of when I said they can't win the title?
I don't think you have that much power, Trey. But when I did the awards pod on Jackson's pod, was it 2.5 weeks ago? And we both said, "Yep, Jokic for MVP." I've changed to Embiid since then.
Yeah,
and
mine is.
But it's not so much what Embiid has done; it's actually Jokic has dropped away. Like again, if I had my imaginary ballot, I would have to think long and hard about Giannis for number 2. Because this last month has just been so bad for Jokic, but as Jokic goes, the Nuggets go.
I worry about them defensively more than anything.
Yeah, look, defensively they're always going to be average at best. That's just the personnel they've got. KCP's a good defender. Gordon's a good defender, but you look at their other 3 starters, Murray, Porter, Jokic, they are decent at best.
I just don't think it's good enough to win the title. Like you have to be at least in the top half of the league in defense.
You would think so, yeah. And if you want to sub out, like if Porter's having a bad game or Murray's getting kicked, you can sub in, a Bruce Brown or a Christian. I keep calling Christian Braun, but it's Christian Brown. But they don't give you nearly as much. Like what they gain on defense, they lose more than that on offense. And Jokic isn't, like, as much as he is a fulcrum, he can't do it all by himself. The big thing for me, though, is actually the intrigue in the matchups.
So you're giving Minnesota a chance here.
Again, this is with the giant, like this big asterisk of Denver playing the way they have for the last few weeks. Because again, they just seem to have run out of gas. Whether it's they lost interest in the regular season, I don't know, but they've been bad since about mid-March. People talk about drawing Rudy Gobert out away from the basket, and Jokic can absolutely do that. But you know what Minnesota have? A second 7-footer.
And he's good away from the basket.
Well, Towns isn't great defensively anywhere, really. But he's not great east and west. His lateral speed isn't good. But Jokic isn't really all that quick laterally either.
No, and he can hit shots.
Well, Towns can. I'm just talking defensively for the Wolves for the moment. But Towns might be able to do just enough to Jokic that it allows Gobert to be the weak side help. He's big enough to be able to, as long as he just doesn't bite, knowing that he's got Gobert behind him to block shots, as long as he just stays nice and vertical and plays chest to chest, he might do enough to stop Jokic's looking for his own baskets.
And you don't have D'Angelo Russell getting burned either.
Well, that's exactly it. Conley's as old as the hills, but he's still better defensively than Russell.
Yeah.
Well, again, I think Russell gets a little bit overlooked defensively because he's actually quite a good team defender. He picks passing lanes well. He's always in the right spots away from the ball, but he's just got no east-west speed, so he gets burnt off the dribble, and that's what people notice. But nonetheless, Conley, even at age 73, is a better defender than D'Lo.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just look at it and go, Gobert could fade away off Gordon because he's not exactly a dead-eye jump shooter. That way you can leave someone stuck to Murray. You can leave someone stuck to Michael Porter. You could maybe take your chances with KCP, who blows hot and cold. Gordon's not a great outside shooter. That means Gobert could stay closer to the rim and be a deterrent for Murray's drives, for Porter's drives, for Jokic, being able to help Jokic when he beats up Towns. At the other end, well, that's a huge loss because that's the Michael Porter matchup. So I haven't heard. I got to admit, I haven't seen anything that says how long McDaniels
I think he's
is out for. Well, that's the thing. I would expect he's probably out for this series at the very least. So that one really does hurt. Really hurts. Probably hurts them more than punching a wall. But but yeah, look, I look at the way at what Minnesota can do offensively as well. I would expect that that Aaron Gordon would actually get a lot of time on Towns, and you basically have Yoki. Yeah, he's able to at least get up on his shot, and he's strong enough that he can hold him out in the paint. And it also means that you can have Jokic coming across with his quick hands and quick feet and mastery of angles. Because, if you're leaving Rudy Gobert, unless it's a dunk, you're not really giving up much.
Towns needs to realize he needs to take over offensively.
Yeah, and look, he played really, really well against the Lakers. I thought he was excellent. Best playoff game I've ever seen him play.
Yeah.
And also against the Thunder today, to be honest, he was really good against them. But the one who I think could turn this series is Ant Edwards. He was better today than he was against the Lakers. That's not to say he was
awful
great.
Against the Lakers.
He was woeful, absolutely woeful. But, Jamal Murray's certainly not going to stop Ant. And KCP's a good defender, but he's just not big and strong and quick enough, especially at this stage of his career, to deal with Edwards. So if Edwards, and Michael Porter's sure as shit not going to stop him. So if Ant can go off, if Ant has one of those series where he hits 4 threes a game and goes off for 28, 29 a game, then this series could be a lot closer than what it looks on paper.
Okay.
I'm still going to say the Nuggets. Like, again, the asterisks. If Denver picks it up and goes back to their mid-season form, probably 4-1. But if this is one where Denver can't snap out of their funk, I reckon the Nuggets will just eke this out in 7. I think this could be a close one.
7.
Seriously, that's how bad Denver have been playing. So if Denver snap out of it, then this series is short. But if they don't, if they're unable to locate that switch and flip it, then this could be a lot closer than what people think.
7.
Yeah. And I know I'm hedging my bet saying it depends on what Denver do, but I really think if Denver can't, get back to what they do, then Minnesota could give them an almighty fright.
How about, I want to ask you this. What's going on with Thomas Bryant? Like, he was supposed to be their big trade deadline pickup, and they don't play him.
Yeah, a stupid pickup. Absolutely stupid pickup.
They don't play him.
Yeah, but the problem is they can't. He cannot play next to Jokic.
No,
like, he literally cannot play next to Jokic. So it's like playing DeAndre Jordan next to me. Like it's a nothing thing. Zeke Naji is the perfect guy who can play backup center but can also play spot minutes at the 4. Yeah, he's the guy that should be playing more minutes. Thomas Bryant is only there.
Why'd you give up 4 second-round picks for him?
Yeah, crazy trade. I thought the Lakers absolutely cleaned up with that one.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
And especially he was a vet minimum pickup. Like,
yeah, and he was doing fine with the Lakers, quite frankly.
I don't know.
He would have been a better option than Mo Bamba.
Yeah.
So, it's but the big issue is, like, Bryant on paper is great, but he's just completely non-compatible with Jokic. They cannot play him together. So when Jokic plays 38, 39 minutes, you're not seeing much of Bryant.
I'm going to take the Nuggets in 6. I really wish Minnesota had McDaniels. If they had McDaniels,
that would have made this one very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's move to the 2 and 7 in the West. That is Memphis and the Lakers. So
the West is such a mess.
Yeah.
This is another one that could be a lot closer than the normal 2-7.
I agree.
And it's purely because Adams and what's the other big's name? Clark. Yeah. That they're both missing. So as much as Xavier Tillman defends Anthony Davis individually really, really well, you can't play Tillman 30, 35 minutes. He's just such a liability on offense. And you know that you can't play Jaren Jackson on Anthony Davis because he might have been fouled out by the time I finish this sentence. So, like, I'm pretty sure that, like, I'm actually quite certain that Jaren Jackson is already on 2 fouls right now. The game's 2 days away. I'm pretty sure he's in foul trouble already.
Him and Towns pick up fouls like it's their job.
Yeah. But I mean, with Towns, it's because he doesn't move his feet and he reaches and he bumps and then looks at the ref like he's done nothing wrong. Jackson is almost the opposite. He's almost too overzealous. Like, he hasn't learned that.
His block numbers have been insane, though.
But that's exactly it. He's so enthusiastic and overzealous on D that when he doesn't pick up fouls, he blocks everything. But when he's a beat early or a beat late, or the offense is just smart enough to get him out of his cadence, he picks up fouls like nobody's business.
I really
worry because he's always trying at 1,000% on D, which is a great thing, but he's his own worst enemy.
And the Lakers led the league in free throws by a mile.
Mile.
This is like
no conspiracy there, surely.
I hate this matchup for Memphis. You're not only losing Adams and Clark, but the Lakers lead the league in free throws by a mile, and they cannot have that happen.
Yeah, this is an absolute no-win series for Memphis. If they get through, okay, they did what they're supposed to do. But there are so many pitfalls and trapdoors, and this could go really wrong for Memphis. This is where the West is just such a wide-open race. Like, it's a shit show. Every team has major flaws and major strengths.
Based on the history of the NBA, I can see it. It's LeBron. He's got Brooks all confused. I don't know.
And that's another really good point. Dylan Brooks is great at getting in the head of the people he's defending, but this is LeBron.
Yeah.
Like, this is one of the most mentally strong players
Yep.
that the
This is
league has
not good.
ever seen. Like, he's someone who, like, Dylan Brooks could be punching himself in the face by game 4.
Yeah. I can see it right now.
Davis could go off. LeBron might just have one of those. Yes, he's old, but he might have one of those series left in him where he goes for 34, 8, and 8 every night.
The only good thing I feel about Memphis is Tyus Jones won't turn the ball over.
No, that's exactly. And this has been one of Memphis' strengths, is that they get 48 minutes of awesome point guard play in very different styles, but they always...
He never turns the ball over.
No. And look, he could probably be a bit more adventurous with his passing. There's probably another turnover and a half per game that he would pick up, but he might get 2 or 3 more assists as well, because he's not someone who really pushes the envelope with trying to slide it into those little gaps either. He's always very safe with it. Look, Ja, this is looking at the Memphis side of things, Ja could go nuts in this series as well, because God bless Austin Reeves' heart, he's not staying in front of Ja. We've discussed D'Lo's defensive deficiencies. Dennis Schroeder is not anyone's idea of a defensive stop.
He twisted his ankle in that.
That's right.
We don't know how he's even going to be.
And the only guard on this roster for the Lakers who can match Ja for speed is Lonnie Walker, and he just takes away so much from so many other areas that you don't really want to have to play. So Davis tends to like to sit back a little bit more on defense now. He's leaned into the fact that he's a 5, not a 4. But that opens up Ja's floater game, which is arguably the best in the league. So Ja could really... He won't get a big highlight dunk, in this series most likely, but he could live at about 12 feet out for pull-up jumpers and floaters and little runners and leaners.
I think I'm going to pick the Lakers.
Mate, I don't think I've ever heard you say that sentence.
I really worry about the lack of big men that they have.
If the Lakers were playing my old man Tuesday team here in Ballarat, I'm pretty sure that you would have said, I'm going to pick the Brumbies. I'm not picking the Lakers. I've never heard you say those words, and I am actually genuinely concerned for your mental health right now.
Oh, that's another story. I'm really concerned about the Grizzlies. They're a different team with Adams. They really are.
Yeah. Well, Memphis' strengths in offense are second chance points and fast break points. Without Adams and Clark, and particularly Adams, they lose their primary second chance points, a generator of second chance points. And what evaporates in the playoffs? Fast break points. So, and this is where Memphis have fallen over in the past, that they have to rely on half-court sets. Now, one thing they've got in their advantage is that Desmond Bane is a much, much better basketballer than he was the last time that they fell short early. He can generate offense by himself. He's an elite spot-up shooter and a movement shooter as well. But that said, that's like the third string in the bow. That's not the main options for this Memphis offense. I'm going to pick Memphis, but I'm going to say 6 or 7. I'll say Grizz in 7. Win it on their home floor.
I'll take the Lakers in 7.
Oh, winning in Memphis.
Yeah, I think the trade deadline pickups they've had have really turned the season around. Vanderbilt's been really, really good. Malik Beasley has given them another shot maker. Austin Reeves is he going to get $80 million?
God, I hope not. Just speaking on Vanderbilt, we talked about the offensive rebounding that Memphis are losing.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that swings in the Lakers' favor. Not just Davis, but with Vanderbilt. Who boxes out Vanderbilt now?
I don't know how Memphis is going to rebound the ball.
Yeah. Santi Aldama, nice player, but he's not exactly the second coming of Rodman.
It's going to be a lot of Laker free throw attempts, a lot of offensive rebounds, and LeBron.
Yeah. And
good luck.
I'm interested to see who does stick in the rotation here for Memphis as well, not just from that much thinner front court, but even in the back court. You know, is Kennard going to go off for a bunch of threes? If he doesn't, he's going to get cooked. So does that mean John Conchar suddenly gets more minutes? Do they play with
Kenneth Lofton, new signee,
Jones and Morant backcourt? Sorry,
new signee, Kenneth Lofton. He's on the roster now.
Well, you know what? I mean, does he get minutes? Does he get minutes at the 4 in this series?
I don't know.
I mean, that front court is so thin. You know, he's not going to get cooked one-on-one by Vanderbilt. So maybe, I don't know. Gives Vanderbilt someone to occupy him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's not a bad call. He might actually get 15, 20 minutes.
Uh-huh. I mean, they signed him for a reason. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they signed him because they're running out of big men falling over. But yeah, he could actually play a sneaky role in this series. So yeah, look, this is such a typical Western Conference series. This one, where like every answer leads to another question.
Yeah,
and it's just such a bastard of a matchup to pick. But yeah, look, I'll go Grizz in 7. Okay. I'll say home 4 gets it done.
How about Kings, Warriors? That's our next one. The Kings are actually the 3 seed. Trey's the president of the Kings fan club. In our preseason power rankings, I ranked them 15th, and I think most people thought I was nuts for doing so.
I did. You know, egg on my face, mate. So, no, I am. This might be my favorite first round series.
I can't wait to watch this one.
Like, I like the Kings had better win game 1. I just want to see that arena, that stadium.
Well, I mean, when's the last time the Warriors won a road game?
Well, I'll get to that. Believe me, I will get to that. But I want to like it won't be the same if the Warriors win game 1 and the Kings win game 2. I want to see the Kings win game 1 and just see how nuts that the beam.
Yeah,
actually halfway around, I reckon I'll hit.
Yeah, those fans are going to be rowdy. They haven't been in the playoffs in forever. Was the iPhone even out when they were in the playoffs last? And the last time they were in the playoffs, the Donaghy thing happened. So they're really going to be rowdy, hopefully.
Yeah. I have a child who was almost finished high school who was not even conceived when the Kings were last in the playoffs. It's nuts. Crazy. It's absolutely nuts, like how long that streak went for. But onto the basketball side of things. I actually think this could be a tougher series for Sabonis than what a Sabonis versus Looney matchup might look on paper. Simply because one of Sabonis's, like, he's such an intelligent basketballer. One of the things he does really well is avoid shot blockers, but knows that people see this chunky, slow-footed, can't jump over a folded piece of paper white guy and think, I'm going to block this shot into the 30th row. And he avoids that shot and then gets his own offensive rebound while his shot blockers off, down the street somewhere. Kevon Looney is not jumping to block any shot.
No.
So he's made a career on playing stout chest-to-chest defense. So that's going to, whereas Sabonis sort of uses defenders' traits against them, he can't do that with Looney. He's too disciplined. So that's going to take away a little bit more of that interior offense for Looney. Everywhere else on the floor, though, I think the Kings could absolutely cook the Warriors. That said, I think the Warriors can cook the Kings as well. Like, we could see 140 to 145 playoff games in regulation here.
How repeatable is the clutch stuff? Because De'Aaron Fox and the Kings, I mean, they've been the number one clutch team basically all year.
Look, why not? Why not? And the thing is, Fox gets all the roses, and fair enough. But Keegan Murray's hit big shots. Herter's hit a heap of big shots. Yeah. Red Velvet, he's hit a heap of big shots. Harrison Barnes has hit big shots not just this season, but throughout his career.
Are we getting a Harrison Barnes revenge tour?
it depends who's defending him. If we see Draymond on him, God no. But if when on those minutes when Draymond plays center, who's stepping in to guard Harrison Barnes? He could get down on the block.
Is Gary Payton going to be back? Good to go?
I doubt it. And even still, Payton's 6'4", 6'5". Harrison Barnes is 6'8", and a good thick 240.
Yeah,
he's a big unit. So, yeah, I mean, this could be one of those series where Barnes lights it up a little, and then you throw in, Jordan Poole is better than Malik Monk, but Jordan Poole blows hot and cold. Malik Monk, there's less variance in his performances match to match.
And he can
Jordan
get hot.
Poole might win you a game, but he will shoot you out of a game just as likely.
Malik Monk can get hot.
Won't. Yeah, absolutely. This it feels almost blasphemous to pick against Steph Curry in a first round series.
Are you doing it?
But I'm going to say Kings, and you'll be shocked at this. I'm going to say in 5.
Wow.
I just don't think. I honestly don't think that the Warriors will win a road game in this series.
They haven't shown an ability to win a road game all year.
No, it's almost like they're the Monstars have stolen their abilities as soon as they leave the Chase Center.
I'm taking the Kings in 7.
Yeah, look, yours is probably a more prudent pick, but I just get this feeling that I honestly just think this crowd will carry these Kings through against a really, really struggling Warriors side on the road, and that the Kings will steal one. I just think they'll steal one of the two.
Even if they don't win this series, what a year it was for the Kings. There's a lot of people that owe them apologies.
Oh, yeah.
Blasted them for the Keegan Murray pick. I mean, blasted them for the Sabonis trade. I mean,
no, I didn't blast him for the Sabonis trade.
A lot of people did.
Yeah, I did say in the next probably 2 to 3 years that trade will lean Kings, and after that it will lean Pacers. But I was definitely one of the people that said that Keegan Murray pick was wrong, and that's on me.
Well, they've done a lot of things that people have really, really questioned.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about the Malik Monk pickup. I love the Herder trade, absolutely love that. I still don't think they use Rashawn Holmes enough. I still think there's issues, but you can't argue with the results. This has just been. I mean, let's face it, it's been the best King season since, Bibby, Divac, Weber, Bobby Jackson, Doug Christie.
They're legitimately one of the best offensive teams in the league.
Yeah, one of the best of all time. and look, that is partly era dependent. This team wouldn't be the same offense if it was in 1986. But, you can only play what you play. And this team, even by its era, are brilliant offensively.
All right, we got one more. Suns, Clippers.
Wow.
No Paul George for a while.
Yeah. This is another series with an amazing amount of variance. As much as Paul George will be missed, the Clippers have plenty of people who can step up, not to his level, but they've got plenty of options who they can roll through to find someone who's clicking. If Chris Paul's not playing well, or Booker's not playing well, or Durant always plays well, if Ayton's having a bad game, where does Monty Williams go to? You and I could roll up as their 11th and 12th man, and no one would know the difference.
Jock Lawndale, he's there.
Hey, look, I love Jock, and obviously I'm an Aussie. I've got to back my man in. But if Jock Landale is having to play 25 minutes a game in this series, then the Suns are in strife. He's a good 15-minute a game player, but if he's having to play a major role, if he's their 5th, 6th, maybe even 7th best player, then this could be a problem for the Suns. That said, their top 3, even their top 4, if Ayton's in the mood, is just so damn overwhelming that it might not matter.
Yeah, it still bothers me that Kevin Love didn't sign with them as a buyout guy.
He would have been perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect for this team.
Why? I don't...
he's not even, and that's the thing. He was never going to play big minutes in Miami because he doesn't play defense. They've got plenty of guys who can shoot the ball and don't play defense, and they don't play any of them. So he was never going to play in Miami.
That one frustrates me. But I might have a little bit of a different opinion here. I think the Suns are going to kill him. 5-gamer.
Wow. Okay.
No Paul George. I think it matters a little bit too much.
Look, I am probably one of the least. I'm probably one of the biggest Paul George haters going around. I'm not a fan at all. I think if you can get lit up by a 33-year-old Joe Ingles in a playoff series, then you probably don't have it. But look, Kawhi is back to what Kawhi was. So as long as Kawhi feels like his legs are okay, then whatever microchip upgrade they've put in him, I think that Kawhi could carry them, and the supporting cast is just so strong and so deep. If Man doesn't happen to be playing well, you can lean on Westbrook a little bit more and let him try and cook Chris Paul for pace. Look, Westbrook he's been good.
Oof.
He hasn't been great. Like I was saying, good compared to expectations, but he has filled a role and he's done it pretty well for the Clippers. But
I don't think I'm legally.
Let's say Russ comes out and goes 1 for 7 in the first 5 minutes of a game. Yank. Let's get Terrence Mann in. Let's put as a nominal point guard. Good defender who can stretch the floor like yam on people when they close out too hard. Zubats could, if Zubats gets in a mean mood, he might actually make DeAndre Ayton cry. Like, Ayton is not as much as he's a physical specimen, I've never seen a dude that big and that strong and that cut just hate physical contact more than DeAndre Ayton.
Zubac is a rebounding machine.
Well, Zubats, on the other hand, lives to bang bodies with people. Like he's almost looking for someone. He could be there for 1 and 0 rebound, and he's running around looking for the person to box out rather than going for the ball. Like he just looks for contact. So he may scare the shit out of Ayton. Kawhi on Durant will be interesting at both ends of the floor because I actually think they'll spend a fair bit of time on each other at both ends. The big variance for me is can the Clippers slow down Booker? Because there's not an obvious matchup for him.
No, and they need Norman Powell to score a lot.
But that's the thing. Even if Powell doesn't, you've got so many options on that team. And Powell might be
the hero.
Well, you might get a 12 point and 7 minutes Bones cameo. You'd hope you get it in the last game of the series because if you get it early, Bones is going to keep shooting that ball for the rest of the series. But, look, Powell's a decent defender. He's defended upper position most of his career. So, he's strong enough. And maybe that's the matchup for Booker.
Could be.
It could. Yeah, and that's the thing. There are so many levers that Ty Lue can pull, whereas Monty Williams is really stuck for options if plan A doesn't work.
How do you feel about Covington?
Well, his plan A is the best in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
Like it's a better plan A than what the Nuggets have, to be honest. But I don't think they have a plan B. There's just they don't have the cattle.
Okogie has been okay. I liked his defensive impact more than anything, but it doesn't look like
he's decent as a shooter too. Like not great,
it doesn't look like he's out of place with the starting 5, which I like.
If you swapped a Okoro and a Okogie, you could almost put the Cavs in amongst that top 3 in the East. Yeah. He's been solid, and that's all you need from your 5th starter when your other 4 are that good.
I just think that the top end firepower that the Suns have is going to be way too much.
Yeah, look, overall, I think I agree. I'm going to go Suns in 7. What do you say? Yeah. Suns in 5, yeah?
Suns in 5.
Yeah, I'm going to go Suns in 7 on this one. I think it could be I don't think watching the actual basketball will be super entertaining for this one. But as an X's and O's nerd like me, I'm going to really enjoy that series just from the tactical level of it. I'm going to really enjoy seeing what Williams does to, patch the holes in his roster. And I'm going to like watching what Ty Lue does on a night-to-night basis, a quarter-to-quarter basis, as to which 5-man units he rolls with, what matchups he tries to exploit.
Is there anybody on the Suns bench you feel good about? Anybody?
Jock Landale is probably the closest. So
Can we get a couple of good games out of Terrence Ross? Just to do something.
It's not 2016 anymore, so probably not.
TJ Warren, maybe? Can we get some buckets out of him?
Yeah, if there's a man who wants to move back to the Orlando bubble, it's him.
Hey, maybe.
No, I remember writing a few years ago of the breakout stars of the bubble, and TJ was the headliner.
Yeah, he was unbelievable.
So, and I mean, it's not his fault. He's been shockingly snake bit since then, but yeah, he's not what he promised to be.
Yeah. Who are your finals picks? And then we'll maybe do a couple of CBA things and call it.
Yeah, well, we're probably going ahead a little bit here, but we are going to do a round 2 and a conference finals and finals pods and all that.
We got to get your prediction in now.
Yeah, look, I think we're going to see a rematch of 2021, and I'm going to say Bucks will win again over the Suns.
Oh,
Bucks were my preseason pick for the championship, and I've seen nothing that will change it. Boston have probably dropped a little bit in my regard. Philly have come up, but I still think Milwaukee, assuming Middleton is at 80% of what he is the best team in the league. And this version of the Suns, assuming they keep their big 4 on the floor, I think are the best in the West, but not enough to beat Milwaukee.
I'm going to take Suns over Celtics.
I knew you couldn't. You have to balance yourself out. You can't sit there and say that you picked the Lakers for a first round and then not pick the Celtics to make the finals. It's almost like your own little internal equilibrium.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I think Durant is so good. He's just so good.
Yeah. Yeah. What else do you say? We've been going for 16 years now, or 15 or whatever it is. He's astonishing. Absolutely astonishing. And look, Boston, I have no qualms with that pick. Even if someone says
best point differential in the
Philly
league
will come out of the East, or any of that top 3, I think could come out of the East and would be a deserving Eastern Conference champion.
Celtics still have the best point differential in the league, 6.4.
They do, but that variance is just so big with them.
Although there is a Middleton factor again here coming up. Like if the Bucks don't really have a good Middleton in that matchup again, I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. They didn't have Middleton at all against the Celtics last season, and still almost took them down in round 2. So for me, if they've got 80% of Middleton, that's enough.
We got a Brogdon revenge tour though.
Yeah, well, I suppose they didn't want to pay him all those years ago, did they?
Yeah.
So, it could be a belated revenge tour.
Yeah.
Look, I got no problem with a Celtics pick. I can't see anybody getting
Who are your conference
finals ahead of the Suns. Oh, it's a tough one at this stage. Because remember, we've got the assuming that the Nuggets and Suns both win, they'll play in round 2.
Yes.
So, oh man, I'll go Phoenix. And who would the other second round matchup be? It'd be Suns. Kings and Kings and I went Memphis, so I'm saying Kings and Memphis. I tell you what, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I reckon it'll be Suns Kings. I don't know. I just got this feeling. I just think the Kings are the healthiest side.
Yeah. But it wasn't close. Like they've had their guys during the regular season more than any other team.
Yeah. And, luck would dictate that they'll probably lose someone to an ankle sprain and someone else to a busted finger or something. But because they have had remarkable injury luck through the season. But yeah, I'll say Suns to beat Kings. And I'll go with, I think it's going to be Milwaukee-Boston.
Yeah.
In the conference finals for the East. But we'll see. I mean, we're going to do a pod about the second round and the conference finals when they come up. So, we could be embedding clips of this pod into those and then pointing and laughing at each other.
Yeah. I got one thing on the CBA and then we can close it out.
Is this what you wrote about today?
There's a lot of things there's a lot of things I want to talk about, but I hate the positionless all NBA thing. I hate it.
Run through your reasons. I've read the article, but there might be people who haven't. So,
well, I think number one, the worst part about it is it's supposed to look like a basketball team. Like the whole purpose of the all NBA voting was to be like, who's the best center in the league? Who's the best power forward in the league? Who's the best shooting guard in the league? Like the NFL, when they turn in their all-pro teams, they don't put 9 wide receivers and 1 offensive lineman. It's just like not how it works. If you're doing a baseball team, you don't have 10 starting pitchers and then 1 outfielder. It's just not the way the roster works. That's the number one reason why.
If you're a batter and you've got 10 baseballs flying at you, I bet you're not going to hit one. You're going to flinch. You will dead set flinch.
I don't.
So
the whole point
becomes redundant.
Yeah, it's supposed to look like a basketball team. And furthermore, if you want a snapshot of the season, the MVP ballot is there for you. Like who are your top 5 guys? There's the MVP ballot.
I agree on the MVP point, but I would counter with, what does a real basketball team look like in this era?
Well, I think there's a way to maybe do it differently. Couldn't you have let's have 3 wings and 1 guard and 1 big man or something like that instead of like here's 5 wild cards, do what you want.
That was going to be my counter, not exactly as you've said it. If you have Giannis, Embiid, and Jokic, it doesn't look like a real basketball team. I agree with that. But if you're going to have stipulations on it, you have a point guard, you have a center, but then you have variance within those other 3 positions. So because remember, there's so many teams that run double point guard sets, or teams that look at Minnesota, they're running with 2 centers now. You might have a center, a point guard, and in the middle you might have someone that can be a traditional 1, 2, or 3, and then your traditional 3, a 2, 3, 4, your 4, a 3, 4, 5, something.
Even if Siakam's your big man on it. Like if you have to have certain amount of minutes playing the 5, something to where it's a real basketball team. Because what they're going to end up doing, it's going to be like here's Lillard and here's Curry and here's Trae Young and here's another point guard.
Trae Young, first team NBA. Come on, let's not get crazy.
Yeah, the all NBA teams are going to look ridiculous.
Yeah, and this is where I think we're sort of at the mercy of the voters a little bit. I would argue for some sort of structure in it.
Yes.
But at the same time, the traditional structure needs to go. The traditional structure of a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, that just doesn't relate to it. Pretty much your own argument of what does a real it needs to resemble a real basketball team. A 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the traditional sense.
Yeah, I'm not saying
it's so rare these days that doesn't reflect a basketball team either. So I honestly think that maybe in 5 years, 10 years, we're going to see some sort of structure change to it. Yeah, but they needed to do something. They really needed to do something.
The 5 wild cards is just not a good look to me.
I got to admit, in your article, you mentioned that this could lead to stat padding and bad basketball as players chase all NBA. And you mentioned that it'll look like Houston Rockets basketball. I would counter by asking, is Houston Rockets basketball of this season, is that winning basketball?
No.
So coaches and players who want to be part of winning teams, they're going to counteract them. They're going to manage that themselves anyway. If someone starts trying to stat pad over a course of 3 or 4 games, you can guarantee that a team with a half-decent culture and a half-decent coach will pull that back into line real quick. So I don't think that would be a problem at all.
Like under these rules, would Lillard make the all-NBA team?
Well, he wouldn't, because he wouldn't play 65 games, which I love that stipulation, by the way. I am 100%.
I think it's a little too high. I think it should be like 60.
Yeah,
65 is a lot.
Well, I thought somewhere in the 60s, and since 65 is in the middle, to me, 65 is fine. You can argue about the number, but there needs to be a games.
I thought
a minimum
60
games
would have been better.
Yeah, and that's sort of the arbitrary number. You can say 58, 65, 70, 72, whatever you want. But the point is they've got that in there now. Because ultimately, I would look at it, and let's say you and I are both max contract players in the NBA, and I've gone out there and played 55 games, slightly better than you've played 75, because I've gotten more rest. Is that fair on you?
I feel like 55 would maybe be the minimum for me.
Yeah,
like that.
But no, I'm just using those two as examples where
55 is really cutting it.
Yeah, no, I'm just using these as like real far end examples to say that you and I have got very similar statistical cases. Mine is slightly better than yours, which means I make an All NBA first team, you make a second, or I make a third and you don't make it at all. But I've done mine with less effort because I've played 20 less games. Is that fair on you? And I'd argue it's not. So the game limit is a good thing.
I'm very worried about hey, the Hornets are out of it. We got to get LaMelo Ball onto one of these All-NBA teams. Our season's over anyway. Well, here comes 30 shots out of LaMelo Ball every game.
But remember, the media voters are smart enough to see that now.
I hope so.
Efficiency and all-encompassing advanced stats, they would suffer with those. And I think the media... The media voting panel would be much more aware of that now than they were even 10, 15 years ago.
I don't always trust them to do the right thing, though, in terms of that.
I'm much more trusting now than what I was. There was that change. I don't know when it happened, maybe 2011, I think, when the NBA got rid of all of the local beat writers and people who worked for the teams in some capacity as media voters and cut it down to that panel of, I think it's 100.
Kendrick Perkins gets a vote, so...
Look, there's always going to be some dickhead. You cannot legislate for everything. That's the issue. You can't legislate for the lowest common denominator. But look, I wrote an article about voter fatigue last week, and I mentioned that the voting system is designed to make those outliers less prominent in voting. In the final tallies. It's similar to a political voting system. So something where some knob from Boston decides to put prime Kendrick Perkins in as first or second on his MVP or Defensive Player of the Year, that's going to get pretty much buried because of the actual voting system that is used, the border system that's used. So I'm not too worried about those sort of things. I think that 99% of the voters take it seriously enough, especially because there are literally millions of dollars at stake for their decisions, which is something I don't agree with.
Many.
I would hate to be a media voter knowing that my decision could mean this person gets an extra 30 million or not.
Yeah.
I would hate that, especially because the votes are public.
I just think there has to be they went a little too far with it in terms of the All NBA stuff.
I don't know what the answer is, but there must be a better answer than
a guard, a big guy, and then 3 sort of wings or something to where.
That I think that we can make we can find a better system on that. But I'm just talking about the fact that contract bonuses are tied into media votes. There must be a better way to do it. Yeah. I don't know what the answer is, but there's surely one out there.
Jaylen Brown's a big one that's coming up. It's almost advantageous if he gets it because the Celtics would basically have an early window to resign him then.
And he's going to be the poster boy for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know the answer, though. I'm not smart enough to know the answer.
All right. I think we can call it. That's your round 1 preview. Make sure to follow Jarrod again. That is hey_hey_it's_JP. Myself, Trey Dalbert. Check out the website. We're going to have all the previews on there for vendettasportsmedia.com. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back with a round 2 preview, and we'll see you next time.